a brand new trailer, some new screenshots, and a release date for SpongeBob Rehydrated were just dropped. It's a lot to go over, so let's get into it. How's it going, everyone? Blueknight here, and welcome back to another SpongeBob Rehydrated video. And boy, I hope you are ready because we got a massive reveal drop for the game. Everything from levels, bosses, playable characters, multiplayer, and robots were all showcased in this new trailer, as well as various screenshots. So get you some snacks and drinks and strap in. It's going to be a long video. Let's start with the new screenshots, shall we? The first one is for Bikini Bottom, which is basically the hub world where every level is sort of interconnected. Comparing this screenshot to the one that we got back in June, it's looking a lot better. We can see Mr. Krabs down here, Plankton across the street, basically still a pebble. Squidward's house is a much darker blue compared to the original, which was a lighter blue. It's different, but I like it. In the background here, there's added beach chairs and umbrellas behind SpongeBob's house. These were not present in the original, neither is the water separating Bikini Bottom from Goo Lagoon. Even further in the background, we can see the carnival and sandcastle sections of Goo Lagoon. Don't worry, I'm not done with Goo Lagoon yet. Same can be said for downtown Bikini Bottom. This golden spatula gate here, you know the things you need to access new levels? By the looks of it, they are still going with the static spatula image as opposed to the rotating spatula of the original. Keep in mind, this could still change the closer we get to the game's launch, which is June 23rd. More on that at the end of the video. Next up is Goo Lagoon, and the first thing I can notice immediately is the brightness. Oh boy, it's brighter than Jellyfish Fields was, let alone the original. I guess part of it has to do with the sun hitting the sand, so I guess it's understandable. It could just be the capture device that was used when taking the screenshot, but it's the same brightness in the trailer too. Oh, and there's Mrs. Puff. We see the stone tikis here. They got glowing eyes now compared to the original, and I'm getting a bit of Spyro and Crash vibes from this. Don't know why. Speaking of tikis, we've got a much better look at the Thunder tikis this time around, bearing a more classic red and yellow color scheme compared to the mostly green from previous screenshots on different builds. Oh yeah, Larry the Lobster is here too. The buttons where Patrick has to throw these throw fruits at is now a target instead of having a hand symbol on them. A minor change, again, I'm not bugged by it. The robots in this screenshot are Glove, although partly visible, the Hammer way over there, and again, you can see the carnival in the background, which we also happen to have a screenshot for. Well, it's technically called the pier, but you get the idea. And the first thing we see is Mr. Krabs.
Oh my goodness!
Looking a bit strange there, aren't you, Krabs? Here I was worried about your voice being the same as the original. Moving on from that, on the first platform here, you can see a few fodder bots. But there's an extra fish civilian here that wasn't here in the original. And of course, we can barely see the robot who took over Mr. Krabs' ticket booth, which is basically just a hammer bot. And is it just me, or did they adjust the lighting and the skybox here to look more like evening time compared to the starting section of Goo Lagoon, which is broad daylight, with the darker sky and the hanging light bulbs by the bumper boats actually putting off noticeable amounts of light? Overall, I like it. The next screenshot of the pier area also seems to suggest this, with the light poles and fodder bots putting off noticeable amounts of light compared to before. We got one more screenshot of Goo Lagoon, and that's in the cave section. Here we can see the little islands have more grass on them. No surprise there. Not much to really say about this particular image aside that it looks nice. Caveman SpongeBob is still here. The buttons now glow after being pushed, and the presence of the monsoon robot. Although not a direct view of it, but I'll come back to this later in the video. Downtown Bikini Bottom, we got a look at Sandy using her lasso, a chomp bot, fodder, and tartar bots. In my opinion, Tartar looks a little bit less clunky and more battle ready compared to the original. Again, I like this. A main collectible in this level, the steering wheel, can be seen on the part of the building above these robots. As with all the other collectibles, it appears to rotate. How it appears on the heads-up display, well, it's likely to be static like everything else. Just like with Goo Lagoon's pier section, this also appears to be a different time of day, although not as close to evening as it was in Goo Lagoon, due to the amount of lights that are on. In the original, they put off no light whatsoever. Did I mention that I really like the particle effects in all these levels? No? Okay. Final screenshot I got for you guys before moving on to the trailer itself is for the Squidward's Dream section of SpongeBob's Dream. And immediately I can tell that they totally ditched the original skybox and decided to kind of keep these dream levels in sync with one another. As you can probably tell, there's a bit of a resemblance to the skybox in the Sandy's Dream portion of the level, with the clouds and whatnot. I don't really know how to feel about it, to be honest. I mean, I think it's a fine change, because the original was, I don't know, kind of distracting. Squidward now appears to be actually playing his clarinet compared to the original, where it was like, what are you doing? Many of the paintings here remain intact from the original, but you'll notice a new one. Yeah, they brought that meme in here. Comparing the placement of this particular meme compared to the movie reference in Jellyfish Fields, I think this one's better placed because it fits in with the other elements of the level. I know I said that that was the final screenshot before moving on to the trailer, but I found this image with all the robots in the game. Not sure where it came from, but presumably it's from the Microsoft Store, since screenshots were found there before the trailer officially launched. Now, I'm not going to talk about the ones we've already seen before, like Fodder, Hammer, and Tartar. We'll start with Chuck. In the original, both of its eyes were always up, and had these metal flaps on the sides of the body. But here, only one of the eyes are up, and there are no flaps. What they did with the eyes, like all the other robots, really adds some more personality to them. The tubeless bots appear to be fatter, more rounded compared to the originals, which were more box-shaped. The mouth isn't a straight line anymore, instead it's I think a flap. The dots on the eyes were basically done away with to keep with the pure glow effect that most of the other robots have. The floating lifesaver ring that's around them is a yellowish green compared to the original's color. Even the mouth on this thing was taped shut. Next one is Arf. Out of all the other robots here, this one's got a bit more flair to it. Going with a much more menacing look and this new cape thing compared to the original. Just like the tubelets, Arf is not as cubed as before. Even the arms and legs look far more flexible than before. The Arf dogs, can't really say too much about them except that they glow. The Bzzbot, one of my favorites, shares the same glowing eye effect and appears to have some sort of handle on its head. Not really sure what that's about. Slick. Okay, they added a bit more life than I really expected with this one. It's still got that metal door on the front, just with a longer handle, and a new meter between the door and the head. If you ask me, I think they might have added some extra height to this one. Bombot. Can't say too much about this one besides it looks pieced together compared to one full piece in the original. Chompbot, not too much different here either. Monsoon. The body appears to be smaller and more cube-like. The face gone through some significant changes, more specifically with the eyes having this crazy look to them, while the mouth is on basically a hinge now, as opposed to whatever was going on here. Sleepy Time. Oh yes, the robot that you can only sneak up on as SpongeBob. Still retaining its cubic shape, the arms appear to be backwards, I think. Instead of the red color of the original, they went with a unified glowing color system like the other robots. Also, there appears to be like this plug-in that looks like it connects somewhere near the head. I don't know. And finally, Glove. The only thing added to this robot is the new sensor on the top, which I'd assume would double as an alarm light with an antenna on top. But we're not done yet, because we're still going to break down everything I can find in the trailer that also got released today. So the first part of the trailer is a glimpse into the final cutscene of the game, but likely altered due to trailer purposes because SpongeBob and Patrick don't wave in this scene. All the characters here look really good. Again, I can't see Plankton, so no comment there. Another area of Jellyfish Fields that we ain't seen yet. Now, I think I've said quite enough about Jellyfish Fields at this point, so let's move on. a quick glimpse of downtown Bikini Bottom outside the entrance to the Sea Needle, and our first look at the sponge ball move. Again, noticeable amount of lights coming from the poles, suggesting a different time of day here as well. Inside the Sea Needle, we see SpongeBob using the cruise bubble, but compared to the original, we now see the actual cruise bubble while steering it. The reticle is exactly the same as the original in terms of shape. In the same cruise bubble footage, we can see a quick glimpse of kelp forest. The level still looks dark, but maybe a little bit lighter than the original. Then we got our first glimpse of SpongeBob tongue sliding in Goo Lagoon, and another of Sandy sliding in the Dream segment. Compared to the previous footage with Sandy in the same level, it's much faster. But like a lot of you posted in the comments section of my previous Rehydrated video, it's because of the pullback slowdown function is why that footage appeared slower than what we're seeing now. We can see a few glimpses of the Flying Dutchman's graveyard. I've been really excited to see this particular level. Well, it still has that gloomy, haunted atmosphere to it. Plenty of goo was to be expected, but it's definitely an improvement in terms of visuals. These floating platforms do appear to be the same size as the original. The entrance area can be seen here, and it translated perfectly. Well, the entire level anyways. Slick in his oil shield can be seen here at the bottom right. The Dutchman himself is right here, again in a different position compared to the original. Speaking of the Flying Dutchman, his boss has been slightly altered, appearing to be a bit more difficult with his fire attack going all the way across the arena compared to the original, whereas it only affects the area in front of him. This is going to be very interesting to play. In the same piece of footage, Sandy's targeting reticle for her lasso has been changed from arrows to circles. Wasn't really expecting that, but it is a more modern touch, and I like it. On top of that, Sandy now does a flip after lassoing a Texas target. Assumingly this was added for extra height, I don't know. Some of the boss icons have been changed too. Instead of showing the boss's face, it shows a bit more of the body, which is fine. However, Robo-Patrick's animations are again questionable. Same for the face. Robo-Sandy looks great though. King Neptune can be seen way back in the background there. The Robo-SpongeBob boss battle, instead of the eyes being transparently clear, they're now transparently dark. The floating platforms that SpongeBob jumps on now have two distinct sides as opposed to being exactly the same on both sides. The Chum Bucket is also noticeably much darker than the original, with goo coming out of the pipes in the background. Again, very nice touches. And from the looks of it, the Patrick stage for this boss does not appear to be restored, but I could be completely wrong on this. Patrick can be seen throwing the throw fruit on the teeter-totter in Jellyfish Fields. In Jellyfish Caves, Patrick sliding and avoiding the fire, and as expected was brought up to modern standards. Immediately afterward, Patrick throws the throw fruit and freezes the water. The freezing effect now starts where the fruit lands and then spreads out to the rest of the water. That's a very big improvement, and I do like that, compared to the instant freeze of all the water at once in the original. But for some reason, the timer is now in the middle of the screen compared to the side as in the original. I don't know, it might not be that distracting. Finally, we come to the multiplayer section of the video. With it, we see the one, the only, Robo-Squidward, and he looks awesome. During the multiplayer stages, he's here in the background. How you fight him, I still have no idea. Difference between this and the original concept, he's much darker gray and has the Krusty Krab hat compared to the concept art. As for the multiplayer horde mode itself, each time you play appears to play across multiple different islands themed around different levels in the game, where you combat waves of enemies as either SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, Gary, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Robo-Patrick. I'm very confused at this point. Why not just use for real Plankton? I mean, why are you having Robo-Plankton taking out his own robots? I mean, where's the sense? You can also collect shinies in the horde mode as well. Whether or not they carry over into the main game, I don't know. And before I go, I just want to run the release date by you guys again, alongside the pre-order info. The game will release on June 23rd, which is in 2 months. Pre-orders for the Xbox One and PC versions are available now, while the PS4 pre-orders will start at a later date. I'm just going to play it safe and say next month. If you pre-order for the Switch in either the US or Europe, those pre-orders will start on April 21st, which is next Tuesday. Anyways guys, that was quite a bit of a reveal that got dropped today. If you watched the whole thing, I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. But since there was so much I covered, there's a chance that I might have missed something, and if I did, then please be sure to let me know in the comments section below, along with your thoughts on what was shown. And don't forget to stay tuned to the channel whenever more SpongeBob Rehydrated content comes up. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and supporting the channel. I've been Blueknight, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Goodbye.